Hey everyone, this is Corinne Lafont, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how I always start my show off with gratitude, or some people will say thankfulness. It is a beautiful day here in Trinidad. It's sunny. There are some nice little puffy clouds out there, but it's beautiful nonetheless. But here's what's more beautiful about it. You're alive. We're alive. And I'm thankful to be alive, to witness, to see, to experience, to live another day, to make mistakes, to learn new lessons, to be joyous, to impact other people's lives again and again and again, and for people to impact my life again and again. And I have with me today Gina. I think that's a shortened form for her full name, Georgina, is it? Gina Gardner. Yes, Gardner. She's a lovely lady, as you can see her. Wait till you hear her speak. She has a lovely accent. I'm not going to assume what it is. She's going to tell us a bit more about herself. But before she does, I am going to tell you a bit about her, and then we'll go straight into the show. So, her bio is sort of like a little story leading into what we're going to be discussing. Imagine being paralyzed and later having to learn to walk, not once, but twice as an adult, and having the strength and determination to come back from this learning to be happy again. Gina suffered a serious ski accident at age 29. She was unwilling to accept the prognosis given by her doctors. Who does? Who does? She knew that her mindset was key to keeping her life on track, keeping her happy, successful, and fulfilled, even when dealing with the worst effects of the challenges her health and being in a wheelchair. Gina's books and business takes her life experience and highly effective mindset techniques and encapsulates her 30 years of coaching, 30 plus years of coaching, training, and teaching into transformational strategies and techniques that will enable you to be happy, stay happy, and spread happiness throughout your life. This is a happy show, Gina. Welcome to Between the Lines.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really pleased to be here.
Yes, and where are you from? That sounds like a British accent.
I'm in the UK. I live just outside Colchester, which is the oldest town in the UK.
Nice. I just love a British accent. I don't know. I think everybody around the world loves a British accent. It sounds so, I don't know, refined. I don't know. It just sounds so nice. Thank you for being on Between the Lines.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yes. So, Gina, ski accident at 29, having to walk twice. Now, I know when we are babies, we learn to walk once. So you did that the first time. So it's actually 3 times. You learned to walk once as a baby. And then you had to learn to walk twice again. Now, I mean, that is significant. We are at the beginning of a year. Let me put things into context. We are at the beginning of a decade, beginning of a new year. We just came out of 2019. And there may be people looking at their lives and thinking, oh, where am I? I'm not getting anywhere. I'm at the worst stage. I'm in the worst place. I want you to be able to bring some perspective given your history, your journey to people. It's the start of a year. Today is the 12th of January, 12 days in the new year. And they still have, I don't know how many more days left, but a lot more days left in the year. It's a leap year, so you get an extra day. And I want you to be able, Gina, from your story, to be able to share some sort of motivation, inspiration, empowering words and message to those who may be sulking, who may be thinking that their life has no meaning, they have no need to keep moving on, they're in a job they don't like, they're in a relationship they don't like, their life they don't like themselves, and they probably may not be seeing a way out. And I want when anyone listens to this show, especially this episode, that they can see a way out and see that there is hope. And once there's life, there is hope and things can turn around. Help us through your story.
I started teaching when I was 21, and I found myself, if you like. I found something that I loved, and for the first time in my life, I began to feel confident. And I was promoted very quickly. So I was promoted to be the deputy head or deputy principal of a school when I was 29. And I was promoted to be the catalyst for change. I was the youngest bar 2 on the staff, and I worked with the then principal, the head, for the first couple of terms to start to create strategic plans to move forward. So when it got to the February half term, I was really pleased to go skiing and have a week off. While I was skiing, I had a serious ski accident. I was on a mogul sitting on a black run in the Schindergratz in St Anton. Quite by mistake, I had a bad fall the day before, and the people I was skiing with, my friends, had said at lunchtime when I joined them the next day, come and join us, we found a lovely new run. We got off the chairlift and I followed them, and it was evident as I got round the corner that we weren't in the place that they were expecting us to be. Now, I was a proficient skier, so black runs in and of themselves didn't scare me, but this was a monster. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with what a mogul is. Well, in skiing terms, a mogul is where the snow is being carved out by the weather, leaving little bumps. And they can be like cobbles, just an inch or two high, but these were 6 foot high monsters.
Wow.
And they were difficult to ski on. I managed the first third of the slope, and then I fell because I'd left it too late. There's a lesson in there for us all. I delayed and delayed because I was frightened, turning on the mogul and slipping down. And as a result, I fell in the powder snow at the edge of the piste. And it took me about 20 minutes to make my way down to where the others were sitting, each of them on a mogul, rather like an elf sitting on a mushroom. Took my skis off. Beautiful, beautiful sunny day. And then the mogul gave way because it had melted and I began to fall. I couldn't find anywhere to land and just bounced down about 150, 200 feet, I'm told.
Wow.
Now, fortunately, I knocked myself out because I think if I'd been conscious, I would have tensed and probably would have hurt myself far more. I came to, and the one good thing about it is between the 2 falls and the skiing that I'd done, I'd actually managed to ski most of the slope. I was determined not to go in the blood wagon, and so with their help, I managed to ski to get back to the hotel. Travelled back the next day, and my mum sent me straight to the emergency department where I was found to have a serious concussion and I'd trapped a nerve in my neck.
Wow.
Fast forward 5 weeks, I was back at school, not right, but I was back at school wearing a support collar around my neck, and I was due to take 150 children skiing with the borough ski party. I was the deputy leader. And the medics said I could go because we took a doctor with us. Now, as the week went on, I became more like Quasimodo. I was finding it more and more difficult to manage. And on the last evening, I said to my colleagues, I've got to go and lie down. I can't manage anymore. And I made my way up to the bedroom and I lay on the bed, and within a few minutes, I found myself to be completely paralysed down one side. I didn't want to frighten the children, but I tell you, I was frightened.
Wow.
So I had to lie there and wait until somebody came and found me. And those were the longest few minutes of my life. When they did come, all hell broke loose and I was carted off to hospital. I was in hospital for a while and then they flew me back to England. And it took me several months to get back to school. And I have to say, I was never the same again after as I was prior to the ski accident, when my nickname was Tigger because I used to bounce around with endless energy. Now, over the next few years, my mobility deteriorated. Every time the medics did some sort of intervention, I got worse. And by 1987, I was having to use a wheelchair around school. I didn't use it in the classrooms or in my office. By this time, I've missed out a very important bit. That first summer holiday after the accident, I was very relieved to get there. 2 weeks into the holiday, I got a phone call from my principal, head teacher's wife, saying that she'd found my my principal dead in bed. He'd suddenly died of a heart attack.
Oh my God.
So I became the acting head, the acting principal, and within 3 months I became the permanent principal of the school. And I was absolutely determined that the school was going to do well and that my health wasn't going to get in the way.
Oh my goodness.
So you need to see this in the light of taking over a big school and wanting the school to do well, but also having the challenge of my health and my mobility. So by 1987, I was using the wheelchair around school. Interestingly, I resisted using one for about 2 years because I was so worried. What would other people think? What would the children think? Would they take any notice of me? Would the parents actually listen and think that I had the capacity to run the school? And what about my staff? And it came to a head in the summer holidays when I went to Wisley, which is a beautiful gardens. And I could only manage to get from the car to the kiosk in the car park where you bought the ticket. Now, they loaned out wheelchairs, but I wouldn't use one. So I sat in the car park while they all went round the gardens. And in that 2 hours while I was sitting there, asking myself, why was I so worried about what other people would think? Why wasn't I going to use a wheelchair when actually that would be an enabler? Now, as it happened, things were taken out of my hands and I'd been put on an experimental drug therapy, which the next day I was taken into hospital. I was taken seriously ill and I ended up being in hospital for 4 months. And by the time I came out, I had no choice. I had to use a wheelchair. Nobody batted an eyelid. All of that worry, what will people think? What if this? What if that? All a load of rubbish. And it's a really big lesson for all of us, I think. How often do you not get on with something because you're worried about what other people will think, rather than just doing it because you know it's right for you?
Yeah. Why do we do that, you think?
I
That
think
is a serious struggle. Why do we do it?
I think very early on in our lives, I mean, you talked about, I've learned to walk 3 times. I mean, when we learn to walk as babies, we don't worry about, will people think I'm silly if I fall down?
Exactly.
Or does my bottom look big in this nappy? We just get on. And if we fall down, we get up and we don't worry about what other people think. But as we get older, we start to compare and people start to compare us with others. And I think it's at that point we start to worry about, will that other person approve of me if I do or am in this way? And that becomes more and more entrenched.
How do we get around that, Gina? That's the point. You see that little space in time after the baby stage when everything seems to be okay. You can't hold the spoon properly. You can't feed yourself. Everybody's like, yay, they clap. They're not making a big fuss over you to say they're not chastising you. They're not shaming you necessarily at that particular point in time, because they realize you're at a stage in your life, you're a baby. You're not fully developed yet. Why is it that as we move into being fully developed, that the parents, society decides to start to look for approval, compare, and then we continue that negative behavior? Why?
I think it's a complex question, but I think we as individuals start to have beliefs installed when we're very small. A parent says you're clumsy. Then we look for evidence that, of course we're clumsy. And if you look for the evidence, you'll find it. And so our belief about ourselves is very significantly coloured by the things other people say to us. And instead of listening to ourselves first and giving ourselves permission to be the arbiter of our own opinion.
That's right.
The less strong our self-belief is, the more credibility we give to other people's beliefs or seeming beliefs, and we listen to them rather than us. Now that becomes a habit. 95% of anything we think, say or do is habitual. So if your habit is other people's opinions are more important than my own, then you will do that and it becomes an entrenched way of behaving. We're the common denominator we take into our lives in every situation from the moment we're born to the moment we die. But it's interesting, isn't it, how often we blame other people or we give other people greater credibility than ourselves, even though is our life and we have the opportunity to choose. Every choice we make is ours to make, and every choice has consequences.
That's right.
And even not actively choosing has consequences, and very often they have far-reaching consequences. So when we don't choose to make the decisions based on what's right for us, but we use other people, then the consequences of that become far-reaching. So I'd say to the people who are watching or listening this, take radical responsibility for your life, how you feel, what you say and do, if you say or do it at all, or the way in which you do it. No one can make you unhappy unless you choose to let them. Nobody can make you give up unless you choose to let them.
Yes.
Everything in life that you do is your choice. And if you really can't change it, I couldn't change the fact that I was in a wheelchair. However, what I could change is my attitude to being in a wheelchair.
I love that. That is a significant statement, and I totally believe it. And I do encourage, and I tell persons the same thing. I am like, because I look at my own life. We are supposed to be able to look at our own life, assess, to be able to heal, look inward, because everything, our meter, our barometer is inward. It tells us what we should be doing, where we should be going. We have an internal GPS, but we are depending on everything else outside of us to tell us what we should do, feel, etc. And the point about seeking the approval of others, it goes into the neediness, the looking for approval, which ends up in bad relationships. And I see relationships that seem to be fine on the outside, but deep down you can see unhappiness in the couple or in the woman. You can see it. And it comes right back to childhood, or even, as we say, epigenetics, back in the womb, where you're carrying all this set of self-limiting beliefs from your childhood that you may not even remember because it's ingrained in you, but you can change it. You can change it.
You absolutely can change it. I'd like to, there's two things I'd like to, one is a story, but firstly, to say to people, every relationship that you have with other people, whether that's personal or professional, is a reflection of the relationship that you have with yourself. So if you believe you're of no account, you'll put up with people treating you badly. If you believe that you are worthy and that you are somebody who is a unique human being with lots of skills, expertise, enthusiasms, and so on, then you will expect people to respect you because you respect yourself. But if you don't respect yourself, then it's not surprising that other people don't respect you. But the story I'd like to share, sorry
to cut you, Gina, go ahead.
The story I'd like to share is about self-limiting. And so many people looking in at what I did as a head teacher, I ran my school for 20 years. It was very successful. I mean, the gift of my disability was creating a unique approach to the development of personal empowerment and leadership, which was very successful. We were on the 100 schools, best schools in the country list twice during my tenure. So, I have real proof that it works. And while I was a serving head, I also worked for the government as an advisor, and I worked for the National College of Leadership and the London Institute, did all sorts of things, not all at the same time, but to bring a budget into school because we were so badly funded, and also to keep us at cutting edge. Now, all of the time, I did that, I thought I was really challenging myself, that I wasn't self-limiting. But after I left headship in 2004, I decided to study to become a neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. And that NLP, neuro-linguistic program, is about changing behaviours by using language. And having qualified, I decided to go and see as many people as possible actually use NLP. And I ended up at the Excel Centre in London. And there were 10,000 people on a Tony Robbins course, Unleash the Power Within. Now, at the beginning of the day, the first day, he was talking about a program that he was running in California, and I completely dismissed it. How would I manage that? I didn't have a travel electric chair at that time. How would I manage it on my own? I'm not very good at self-propelling. What would I do if? And I dismissed it. Later that day, we did a fire walk. And for those who are not familiar with that, that's when you walk about 30 feet in bare feet over hot coals, red hot coals, without burning your feet if you're in the right mindset. Now, by this time, I'd had an internal spinal stimulator fitted in 2004, and I could walk a few steps, not 30 feet unaided. So I had somebody each side of me, and I was thrilled to have managed it. And I sat back in my wheelchair. I was ecstatic. I'd managed to walk that. It was the furthest I'd walked since before the two spinal operations where I'd had failed back surgery. But the guy who came immediately after me, he was a double amputee. He had no legs below the knee. He tipped himself onto his hands and he walked those hot coals on his hands. And in that nanosecond, I recognized that even though I'd done all of the things I'd done, I was self-limiting.
Wow.
I went home, I booked my ticket, and I booked my flight. I went and did the course. It was brilliant. I did all his courses, became a senior leader. I've been all over the world, studying, traveling,
Gina.
teaching, speaking. I am so grateful to that man. I have no idea who he is.
Gina.
And I have shared that story with many people who in turn have told me that it brought them up short and it's made them think, and I'm going to give your listeners and viewers the same challenge. How often are you self-limiting and saying, I can't, when you haven't actually given it a go?
Yeah. Gina, I'm not laughing at you.
No, I understand that because, you know, it was one of those pivotal moments in my life.
Why does that happen to us? I find that so amazing. And I love it when it happens. It's like you're there making excuses upon excuses. And you know deep down, Gina, this excuses is caught. You know it. When you're conscious and aware, you know. Your inner being is saying, you know you're making excuses. You know you're trying to get away out of this. Yeah. And then suddenly something happens that is like, oh, really? You're really...
It's like a smack on the back of the head, isn't it?
Right? And in that split moment, I like how you just booked your ticket and there was... Because you know you had to make it. If the man could walk on his hands with no legs on hot coals, why you cannot make it? Why? Yeah. Why? What's your excuse? Really? Try to beat that. Really? I love it. I love it, Gina.
Very powerful moment. Yeah. And, you know, for me, I think you asked at the beginning of the program things that would perhaps help people have a shift in their thinking.
Yes.
And start to recognize that you are only a victim if you choose to be. We are the authors of our own life story, and it's absolutely your choice whether you choose to be a victim, okay, poor me, I can't, or you choose to be the hero or heroine in your story. Now, does that mean you get everything right? Of course it doesn't, but it's in the failing that we develop and grow.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, the only true failure is that you don't give it a try, or you don't learn from the experience.
You know, there's a negativity that goes along with the word failing, failure, any derivative like that. And I totally am against it. Failure is not a negative term, because the fact that you fail says to me you would have tried.
Yes.
You would have attempted something that somebody else on the other side would still be thinking about, that you still did, and at least you failed.
Yeah.
You know? So I am like, how is it a failure if you attempted it? You may not have gotten the results that you wanted or probably expected. And probably as we are talking, you need to have a mind shift and have no expectation at all and just do it. And whatever happened, you're like, I'm just grateful that I did it. And if I did it and this is what I get and this is what I'm supposed to achieve, then I can do it again with a different way of thinking and keep moving. The person on the other side is still watching, you know, on the standby, and haven't done anything. They cannot relate to you, who has done something, have actually not gotten the results that you may have wanted or should have gotten, but at least you have done it. Your experience is far more than the person who is still watching, spectating.
Absolutely.
So failure is not a negative term.
Are you familiar with Dyson? He makes vacuum cleaners and a whole range.
Yes.
Do you know how many prototypes he made before he had his first working vacuum cleaner?
Oh my God. Is it more than Einstein? I think he failed 10,000 times or more.
Well, I don't know about that, but he had 2,000 prototypes.
Wow.
Now, if he'd given up at 1,999, he wouldn't be the multimillionaire he is now.
Oh my God.
But each time he made a prototype, he learnt more about what the next prototype needed.
Exactly.
And he kept going and kept going and kept going.
Exactly.
You know, it all comes down to what we believe. I wonder if, you know, your listeners are familiar with Roger Bannister, who was the 4-minute miler. Now, when he was contemplating running a sub 4-minute mile, he was advised by the medics of the time, if you run that fast, you'll die. They were quite clear about the fact that if you ran that fast, you wouldn't be able to breathe enough oxygen in. And if you look at the footage of that race, there are men in white coats with oxygen bottles waiting to resuscitate him, but they weren't too hopeful that they'd be able to. Now, that he ran that mile in less than 4 minutes, I think is amazing. But what I find even more fascinating is within a month, over 30 others had done the same. Why? Because they believed it was possible.
Yeah, all it takes is one
belief shape everything.
One person just has to do it. It just takes one. One person has to believe it can be done, and they are going to die trying if that's the case. Die trying. Just to show.
But if it wasn't for such people, we would still be living in caves or still believing that the world was flat.
Of course, being afraid to step out of the cave.
Yeah, definitely.
If I step out the cave, oh my God, an animal may take me. If I step out the cave, the light is going to burn our skin, and so we will not survive. Oh my God, you know, there's so many different things.
Yes. The interesting thing about our comfort zone is that we stay within our comfort zone and it feels cozy and warm, but it becomes a straitjacket. And the minute you step out of your comfort zone expands, because as soon as you start doing things which to start with feel very challenging and scary, the more you do it, the easier they become. Your comfort zone expands, and then the whole process starts again.
You know, I didn't think about the comfort zone expanding. That's a lovely way of looking at it. It's like stretching a rubber band. You know, it can go so far as much as you put some pressure on it. I was thinking more of moving out of your comfort zone. You know, that's how people will term it, out of your comfort zone, as opposed to saying, like how you framed it, you know, expanding your comfort, which is really a shift in my mindset here. You know, just the way you phrase it, really. So it's not like get out of your comfort zone, just expand it.
Push the walls out a little bit and a bit more.
Give it a little nudge. Just give it a little nudge and see what happens. We're not telling you to jump ship and come out of your comfort zone. Just test it to see if there's a little bit of fluidity in there. You know, I like that. I love that. There's some really great nuggets, Gina. I love this. I want to switch over to your website, and I know there are two websites. Let me see
Yes.
if I can get to that here. Uh, where is that other one? Give me 1 second. I'm seeing this one. Yes. Are you seeing that?
Yes, that's the Enlightened Leadership. That's the website for the new program I've just launched this year, and it's the culmination of over 30 years' work. And it's, I don't know about you, but my view is that if you look at the quality of leadership that there is around the world at every level of society, it's pretty toxic.
Oh,
Do you know,
yeah.
in the UK, over half the prescriptions in the UK are for antidepressants.
My
And
God.
most people cite the need for antidepressants because they're unhappy at work.
My
At least
God.
that contributes.
We are killing ourselves, Gina.
Yeah.
Gina, what can we say to people? I mean, this is painful for me, Gina. This is painful for me. Is it worth it? I see people running towards things, trying to achieve this, and forsaking just the joy of life. You cannot, I saw a post somewhere that says something like, and I said it to a friend the other day, you come here with nothing and you're fighting to get things. And then when you are about to leave the earth, you're trying to hold on and you cannot take anything with you. What? Why?
Well, I think if you listen to Johann Hari, he talks about having junk values, that you measure your own worth and the worth of others by material things. For me, I think that there needs to be a paradigm shift. We need to change the way in which we utilize our gifts. And for me, purpose is all about service to others. And so the Enlightened Leadership program is around creating spiritual leaders, if you like, who will lead with integrity, compassion, and the courage to do what's right rather than what's necessarily easy or convenient. And so building leaders who will learn to nurture other people, who will create self-organizing teams who believe in what they're doing, who have similar values, and who want to support one another in their growth and take radical responsibility for themselves. So there's no room for ego or moodiness or one-upmanship. And it's how I run my school, and it's why the school was so successful. And I've now used this in a large number of organizations across industries, and I know it works. And so I've set up this program and looking now for people who want to participate because they want to be enlightened leaders, and for people who want to be affiliates because they also believe there is a need to change the quality of leadership, to take a very different route to the one that's patently not working. Do you know, in the UK, £70 billion is lost each year because of absenteeism, because of stress. And they think twice that amount because of presenteeism, where people are in work but stressed and not working to their potential.
Oh my
now,
God.
the thing is,
Either way, it's not working. Absenteeism and presenteeism. It's just not working. Wow.
No, but this makes good business sense too, because not only does it mean that people, the working relationships are better, people are happier and more engaged, more motivated, but because of that, they become more productive, they work better together, and businesses become much more profitable. So whether you're looking at the holistic, heartfelt at one end of the continuum or the hard-nosed business at the other end of the continuum, doesn't matter which way you look at it, this stuff works. And I believe passionately that we need to start doing things differently.
Oh yes, there is no doubt about it. I see a video here. Is it related to the program?
Yes, you'll find a video. There's also a free blueprint on there that people can download, and there's a series of 4 videos there.
Nice. I don't want to play the video because I may run over time. Is it a short video?
Yes, but people can go onto the website and find it, and that they can play it for themselves, can't they?
Let me see. Yes, they can, but it's 5 minutes. So I just clicked it for them to see that it's actually working, and that's you there.
Yeah.
So they can click on it. And I want to switch over. Let me see if I can do that. Are you seeing this other website?
Yes, that's the Genuinely You website.
Yes. Tell us a bit about this.
So Genuinely You is the business that I started up 2 years ago. And it was because my sense of purpose, which had been perfectly fulfilled while I was a head teacher, there was this insistence that I needed to help more people, because there were so many people who were unhappy, whose relationships were falling apart. If people go onto this website, there's loads of free stuff. There are videos, podcasts, there's a TV series. You can get a free digital download of the latest book, which is the #1 bestseller, which is Thriving, Not Surviving, The 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success and Fulfillment. And there are lots of programs on there that people can engage in. So lots of free stuff, and then they can join us on the membership site. And if they want to engage, there are paid for programs as well.
Why do you say thriving and not surviving?
Because so many people, I think, are literally surviving. They've got enough food, they're going through the motions, but they're not truly thriving. It's not something that, they're not feeling joyous, they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, they're not feeling successful. And for me, thriving requires all of those.
Yes, I totally agree. We tend to look for happiness outside of us. Everything we tend to feel is outside of us.
Yeah.
We need to go within, do some yoga, do some meditation, do some introspection, spend some time with you, date yourself.
And people can find there's a free 7-day happiness challenge on the website. Each of those days gives you a video and strategies to try. And there's a book that goes along with it, which is all about choosing to be happy. It's absolutely your choice.
Show me where to get it. Look at here.
Yeah.
This is it, because I know I saw it before. The 7-day happiness challenge.
That's the book, but in there you will find that there is the happiness challenge. There you are, the 7-day happiness challenge.
Okay. So they have to purchase it, or
No, there's a free challenge. If you go onto the website, you can actually within there you can sign up for the free challenge, which is all video, or if you want the book that accompanies it, then you can buy the book.
Okay. There's a lot of, I think it's here.
There we are. Yeah. So if you click onto that, it'll take you, and you can sign up for the happiness challenge, and then it offers you the book if you want to buy the book, but you don't have to buy the book. You can do just the challenge. This
is lovely. You're doing fabulous work, Gina. I am so proud of you. Thank you. And of course, people can join the tribe, yes. Have like minds get together, because you cannot, and as I say, like minds, if you really want to change your mindset, change your paradigm, have a shift, it's, as I said, it's the beginning of the year. We're just 12 days in. You still have a lot of time. You need to surround yourself with the right type of people. You cannot be still hanging around the same type of people and want a change. It doesn't work. Any thoughts on that?
They say that we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most of our time with. And what I would say to you is that inevitably there are going to be people perhaps in your family that are, they call them radiators or drains, don't they? People who drain your energy, where you want to spend time with people who are radiators, who actually, who make you feel good about yourself, who help you and support you and encourage you. What I would say to anybody is, if you are spending time with people who complain, who are negative, who tell you can't do things, you need to do something about that. And one of the reasons I set up the Thrive Tribe was so that people would be surrounded by like-minded people who wanted to be the best they could be and wanted to grow and develop. People can join me on the Genuinely You Facebook group. That's a free forum again, where people can actually meet like-minded people, and there's lots of posts and articles and things on there that will help people maintain a positive mindset. That's just genuinely -u. If you go onto Facebook, you'll find it there.
Nice. Gina, there's a lot of information here that you have provided for free, a lot of resources that people can get started. And of course, they can always connect with you. I see a lot of pop-ups coming up in terms of assistance, live chat, you know, so persons can get immediate assistance if they need to. I am so honored and inspired by you. Continue doing the work that you're doing. You're still alive, thank God, to tell the story. You're walking, you're talking, you're not in a wheelchair. There is hope, there is light. It is possible. Thank you so much, Gina, for being on Between the Lines. Any final words before we go?
Just to say to everybody, focus on what you can do. All right, if you focus on what you can do rather than what you can't, if you recognize, you know, this is where I want to get to, remember every journey starts with the first step. And
literally,
you'll get there.
Literally, the first step, literally, Gina, the first step. Whether it is on your hands or on your legs.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gina.
Oh, thank you for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.